Happy to welcome you to our last Lunch and Learn of the spring. We're going to be starting them up again in September. Hopefully we'll be able to bring the cookies and all the other goodies back then. Things will be back to normal. However, just because we're not having Lunch and Learn, we're still going to be having adult programming all summer long for our adult summer reading program. The whole staff is pitching and working on it this year, so they've got all sorts of exciting ideas planned, so watch for that. And today I am so excited because I really love compost. And I'm so glad to welcome Ricky Ludeman of Ozark Compost and Swap and to come and talk to us about one of my favorite subjects.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm Ricky Ludeman, owner-operator of Ozark Compost and Swap. We just started business here in November last year, so it's been about 6 months. And essentially what we do is we give the community an opportunity to divert food waste. For anybody that's not composting themselves, it just gives them another option that there is a way to divert food waste from landfills. Which is the primary goal of our services. So for anybody that maybe is not familiar with what composting is, composting is really the natural cycle and process of breaking down organic matter, food waste, anything that can break down outside plastics or metals. And really what happens is once that food waste and organics break down properly, they create this incredible super soil. And that's the actual compost. We are called Ozark Compost and Swap, but it sounded a lot better than Ozark Food Diversion and Swap. So that's what the name is. What's so important about composting and why I'm extremely passionate for it is, one, I'm not a master composter by any means, but what I do love to do is give communities another option to divert food waste. So 95% of our food waste ends up in landfills. And anybody have a wild guess the average household pounds of food waste a year?
Too much.
Too much? That's probably right. Yeah, any's a lot, right? So it's about 230 pounds a household. We track all of our members' weights throughout the months. And we have some that are probably on track for maybe anywhere from 150 pounds to 200 a year. We have some that are on track to 400 to 450 pounds per household a year. So, and obviously that is variance in sizes, how many people you have in your house, kids, families, and whatnot. So yeah, 230 pounds per household a year. And why that's really impactful is when food waste actually goes to the landfill, a lot of people think that, well, if I put that in my garbage can, it's going to break down and be fine. What happens is it packs really tightly in those landfills. It gets mixed in with plastics, styrofoams. And once that actually starts to rot, that produces a really nasty methane gas. And why that's bad is methane's not often talked about. We look at CO2 emissions is what we talk the most about, but methane gas is actually 25 times more potent than CO2 emissions. If food waste was its own country in the world, it would be the third largest contributor to methane gases in our environment. So it's incredible how much food waste impacts the environment. And along with that too is, Northwest Arkansas is continuously growing, right? We're not getting smaller, people aren't leaving. So the importance of, composting and diverting our food waste is taking down the overall growth of our landfills. I've sat in some meetings with cities and it's a big concern. Where do we go next? And what is that going to impact over here? Again, that's why I have this great passion for composting. I may not be a master composter, but what I love about it is this small change that we can make within our households that can drastically improve our overall community. And that's essentially what Ozark Compost Swap is here for, is just to give that easy opportunity. And we love talking about sustainable living and compost being one of those, but those really simple changes that we can make in our households can drive these great impacts. So another thing that we love to offer, it goes with food waste. And again, if anybody that just walked in, there is coffee back there. Anybody have a wild guess how much coffee goes to the landfills? So it's about 6 million tons of coffee go to the landfill every year. So with our compost service, what we wanted to highlight is, well, let's divert coffee too. Maybe because everybody, enjoys coffee. Not everybody drinks coffee, but I would say a mass majority of people do like their morning coffee. So, one other thing we like to offer is, so what we do is we do refillable coffee. And again, so we have these canisters. This coffee right here is the coffee back there. So what these canisters do is they're refillable. So our members can leave their canisters out with their compost bucket, and we'll actually come by, refill it on their doorstep. And that eliminates packaging. And then obviously they have the compost bucket here. So all the coffee grounds can go right back in the compost bucket. So. Did I ever hear you say you compost yourself?
I do.
Awesome.
I do.
Awesome. What are some of your biggest challenges, you think?
I would just like more, because it seems like it compacts down to this little amount, and then when I put it on my garden, it's like.
I know, it's tough, right? It's like, oh yeah, I need so much more. A lot of like to talk to about, composting is a great method to, divert, but there's a lot of different options that we actually have here in the community to help reduce our food consumption. So, number one and foremost is, buy what you need, which I think that's a lot easier said than done sometimes. I'm a parent of two, and you do what you can, but at the end of the week, you may have these leftovers. But just actually buying what we need, planning out what we need, is a really good way to cut down on our food waste. Also, like you do, is composting yourself. You can do a backyard composter, which sometimes those can be a little complex. They take a while to get started. But I think you're going to see in the community, you're going to see a lot of other businesses start coming to the table that are actually going to help with that. We're getting ready to kind of team up with another one here out of Fayetteville that, for people that do want to compost themselves, there's this other business that will actually help you design, build it, and help you kind of manage it too from your backyard. There's also options of drop-off programs. So here in Rogers and Bentonville, there's another company called Food Loops. They have drop-off programs where you can get a 5-gallon bucket. You can bring it to drop-off locations, and then you can have services like us that will come actually to your doorstep. You put all your food waste in the 5-gallon bucket, and we'll come right there. We grab the dirty bucket, and we bring you a clean bucket, so you don't have to do any of the cleaning or anything yourself. So. Just trying to bring so many more options to the table for the Northwest Arkansas community, which is really what we want to do. So, and again, we want to try to make sustainable living a little bit easier and convenient. There's also some other options of just eliminating packaging. We talked about coffee packaging. I think it was every year some 6 billion cups of coffee go into the landfills and whatnot, so using reusable cups is a big one. But we also have, household cleaning products here. So this is another good way, is what this is kind of a refill basis. So if you want, say, laundry detergent, you can get laundry detergent. Once you run out, you can leave that empty with your compost bucket. We'll bring you another full one, and we take the glass bottle, we clean, and then we refill. So just another really easy, good option to, again, just eliminate anything from the landfills. And one of those easy ways is just reusing what we have. So, but essentially, that's kind of our service and what we offer. Is there any questions so far? Or?
Yeah. Our compost bin is 6.5 feet wide, 3 feet deep, and 5 feet high. I turn it over with my tractor. The biggest problem I have is what's in there. What do you do with that?
Is it just growing things on the
Yes.
bottom? I just turn it more.
No answer.
Try to make those.
I was just gonna ask you, I don't know, you were talking about coffee going into the landfill. I recycle, take everything when we run to recycle, but one of the things I don't understand is a lot of the stuff is recyclable. But why is everyone still putting so much stuff in number 5, which is totally unrecyclable? Like the coffee folders, Ken, I think I'll build a house out of those. You know, just fill them with sand, glue them up, shut it down.
Yeah, I don't know. Recycling is I'm from Northwest Arkansas originally. We just came from Denver, and came back here. But so I got to learn a lot more about the recycling world here. To be quite honest, we had it really made in Denver for recycling. I get that. It's probably a really popular question just in general with the recycling programs here.
Because I guess some of the stuff will actually break down.
Some will, yes. Some will, yes. And then, something really cool that we're seeing in the composting world is actually compostable cups and a lot of compostable items, which is really cool. In the backyard applications, they probably will not break down very well. But in industrial type applications where they can be ground down, and then in some instances, inoculants can be added to those, they'll be broken down and even better and turn into that really
I
nice.
guess the coffee filters break down from what I understand.
Very well, yeah, coffee filters do great.
Yeah, I have noticed that, that I went and bought all those the compostable supposedly baggies for my countertop bin. And when I put them in the composter, there they are a year later.
Yeah, yes, okay, so it's kind of like we're getting into, composting is coming about in the US and is being talked about a lot. I would tell you that, just like your point is not everything's really recyclable. It's kind of the same in the composting world that not everything's really compostable. In theory, everything's technically compostable. It just takes hundreds of years for some things to break down. So what I would tell you is items, so like our bags in here, it's really hard to see, but BPI Certified Compostable is something that will break down in your backyard compost setup. So BPI is a kind of a governing body that provides certifications to products that say, yes, this will break down within 60 days or so. So it's something I think in the US we're gonna have to get used to and accustomed to. Is like, all right, is there an actual certification, just like recycling numbers? I think you're gonna start seeing like a compostable certification, like, oh, I can put this in my backyard composter. But yeah, you're seeing a lot of cups out there that say compostable. Not all of them truly are what you'd want to see for a short duration. But there are some that do break down fairly quickly. So yeah, certification I think is going to be a big topic here in the next coming years of what can be composted and what actually gets thrown out. So
Is your business primarily commercial,
no, we're primarily residential.
residential?
So yeah, so single family, we do a lot of single family. We just started, which this is a really cool one, is started working with apartment complexes. Valet trash. Now we have valet compost pickup. So yeah, we're getting a little bit of traction there on that one. So and then what we're doing starting to get a lot more involved with is small businesses, maybe bakeries, kombucha makers, helping them divert their food waste, and then storefront type businesses that have maybe a complimentary drink area with coffee, working with them to help divert their coffee grounds, their service area, their customer areas, stuff like that. So
So you're not focused against someone like the Walmart store that's throwing all that stuff out?
That's a whole different, there's kind of 2 to 3 businesses here in Northwest Arkansas that specialize in, call it the way larger composting, recycling. I'm kind of like the little guy on the block. We just got 5-gallon buckets where they got the big 64, like the even really big dumpsters where that gets brought.
I wonder if there's somewhere, is there somewhere where you can go, like, let's say that all the Walmarts here were taking their stuff, someone like yourself and different people. Is there somewhere you can go and just buy or pick up compost that's already done? Like, after you get done with all yours, what are you gonna do with it?
Yeah, so what I do right now, and what we have to do, there's multiple different reasons. So right now, the city of Fayetteville has a really good compost facility. That's where our food waste goes. And why that is they're kind of an industrial setup, and they can take so much more than what like a backyard composting setup can do. So they can take like cooked meats, cooked bones. They can take the certified compostable cups and break those down properly.
Pet waste?
Beg your pardon?
Pet waste?
They will not take pet waste. So, but it is something we are definitely working on in the future, is setting up something small where we can kind of give back to our members. That's the primary goal. And then we're taking on probably about 800 to 1,000 pounds a week now. So we've had a lot of growth in the last probably month. So just having a place to do that legally is kind of the next step for us. So yeah, but it's on the radar for sure. But to purchase, City of Fayetteville, I'm pretty sure you have to be a City of Fayetteville resident to purchase it. There's a couple good places in Oklahoma that sell good compost. There's a place in Little Rock that sells compost too. So.
Does the city of Bentonville at their recycling facilities sell compost?
They do, but it's not your food waste
That's what
compost. So yeah, the food waste one's kind of
It's chopped up tree branches.
Yeah. Yeah, the food waste is kind of the premium.
Yeah.
Everybody wants the food waste. But yeah, I think in the future we're going to see a lot of different opportunities for compost purchase and compost facilities here in Northwest Arkansas.
Does it have to be tested for pathogens and stuff? Is that what the holdup is?
There's that. It's about a year process to get you have to have somebody certified in composting. You have to do all the testing. I'm not sure how often the one in Fayetteville is tested, but it may be daily for temperatures. And then you have to have stormwater permits. You got to have retention ponds. You have to have so much protection from that compost pile, just in case something happens. And it's not like we get rain here or anything. But so yeah, it's a lot of protection, a lot of things put in place to make sure that we don't trash a stream or anything like that. So
Also, I have heard about like explosions.
oh,
Not in compost facilities, but when they get that kind of heat building up. One of the reasons I asked about the pet waste is like you've all heard about the hog lagoon and stuff.
I haven't heard of that one before. That's interesting. Just explosions or something like that. But yeah, it's extremely high heat. But yeah, there's a lot of regulations we're seeing now to do a large scale industrial compost setup. So, but it'll get there. So I think we'll see a lot. Yes, ma'am.
I think I saw, I don't know if it was you guys, Piano Smith had recently about this composting where they pick it up at your door and all. I don't know if that was you guys, but it was really interesting. And I thought it was a great idea. Now, I have really never composted, but he bought one of those black tubs that you turn, and it was just always smelly and yucky. And how do you, okay, I hate to be stupid, but if you just want to put it in your backyard, what's the best way to do it? I don't want one of those black things.
Yeah, you know, there's so many different,
You just dig a hole, throw it in?
I mean, it's one way. I think the trick to composting a lot of food waste, a lot of people miss is it's what we call the browns, the carbons. That it's almost, I mean, it's like a 4-to-1 ratio of carbon. So like leaves, sticks, mulch, whatever, to food waste. So you have a substantial amount more of those carbons and browns to your food waste.
So 4 carbons to 1 food waste?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, it's a ratio of 3 to 4. And what that does, so you have a pile, right?
Yeah, oh, in the fall, I stack the leaves and then take buckets full and throw it in. And then layer the food on top, more leaves, and then turn the whole works over. And after it's all done, scoop it up, throw it in the garden, roll it, till it in the garden.
Okay, yeah, so I mean, that's probably like, compost piles are very popular. Are you doing a compost pile too, or are you doing like a tumbler? Okay, what's your trick on your tumbler?
Just keep moist and turn.
Yeah, do you add a lot of like the carbons, leaves?
I tried.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely the trick is you gotta have that. And what that does is that creates heat and really helps cook that food waste down, and then it's where you get that nice breakdown into compost.
So how often do you have to turn it when it's in your yard, like just in a?
I just kind of get layers in and put more leaves on it, and then I can tell.
You don't have to turn it like every week or?
Oh, no.
Yeah, you really kind of.
Every 2 months.
Okay.
But he's probably got quite a bit.
No.
Yeah.
The other thing that P. Allen was doing, I never even thought of it, but I thought it was a pretty good idea. You know, we all have such nice soil here. But he took chicken wire and made rounds of it, about that big around, and he put it in the middle of his flower beds. And then he just drops the stuff in there, and as it breaks down, it goes down into the ground and fertilizes everything.
It's not smelling.
He said it would.
He said it was. We're gonna go to Moss Farm. I'll give you a full. But I thought that was really a smart idea, because then all that stuff's going right back where you want it to be.
My dad has for 40 years kept a compost pile in his garden. He has a 3-sided bin. It's huge. I don't even know how big it is. He picks it up with a tractor. But he puts all of his stuff in there all year, every year. And then in the fall, he tills it all in and moves the bin to a different location. And then in the next year, that's where he plants the sweet potatoes. And he gets sweet potatoes like footballs.
Yeah, there's so many different methods of composting though. It's crazy. And actually, you're gonna see. I've been talking with another business out of Fayetteville, who we're probably gonna work with on composting too. But the ideas and the different systems that they're talking about, just for all these different applications out there besides just gardens, but even more so with like even feeding livestock or feeding chickens with a certain portion of the compost is really, really cool. So I honestly think, you know, we've been doing composting for, I mean, really been around for thousands of years, but now we're actually going to start seeing a really cool, just refining the process even more to get more out of the compost. So, and again, I'm not an expert on it, the composting itself, but you know, when you talk with people,
I'm surprised that Waste Management doesn't see what you're doing as another income stream. Because basically they're coming to our house every week, we're slowly separating, giving them the trash. Eventually, do they just add another thing that they come pick up?
They do it in some areas, but not in
Yeah, I don't know what Waste Management's.
They're already there, they're already making the run, it's just an add-on for them.
Yeah, well, the recycling they pick up, they don't actually recycle, so.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, what I have learned, there's a lot to it, you know, there's a lot to it, and, you know, what I really enjoy about our service is we want people to continue using our service. Does the bucket get smelly? Yeah, it kind of does. And that's one big thing for us is making sure the buckets are clean. That way your next use is you don't have to have a smelly bucket, you don't have to bring it somewhere. really deal with anything. Your job is just putting your food waste in the bucket. We come by, we grab it, make sure it gets diverted, and then it's a clean bucket after that. So I'll tell you that there's a lot more that goes into it. It's messy. It's messy, and there's a lot of cleaning with it. So yeah, I have no idea what waste management's plan would be in the future. I'm sure it's got to be something on the radar though.
What's it cost to have your service?
So we have two different options. You have either a weekly pickup or every 2 week pickup. Most everybody, I'd say 90% of our members are every 2 week, and that's $26 a month. And then you can get in the coffee program, what we call our swap products, and just household cleaning products, anything like that. So we also very ingrained with the community. We really enjoy teaming up with small businesses. So like your summer, June, July, and August, we teamed up with the local flower farmers. So we're actually doing flower subscriptions at your doorstep. So whatever we can do to really give back to the small businesses in the community and work with them, we do.
What is your background? You said it's not gardening?
No. Construction.
Really?
Construction. Yeah. So, I mean, just the background is when we were living in Denver, there was a service, and again, why I love our business, mission so much is I didn't know what composting was 10 years ago. I had no idea. And we had the same similar service like this in Denver, and it's just kind of learning through that of what can go in this bucket, where it goes after that, what it turns into. So yeah, that's my background. So I'm full, this is all I do every week. So this is what I do. So we moved here and we wanted to try this, and just because it was so important to us and how it impacted our lives, and we wanted to bring that to Northwest Arkansas. So, cool. Did I miss anything, Leslie? Kind of.
I'm just enthralled, really. I just like, good dirt is one of the greatest things in the world.
Yeah. And there's incredible advantages with compost dirt too. I mean, yes, it's great for your crops, your gardens, your plants, but we see a lot of dirts now with chemicals in it. That a lot of times we get a lot of runoff into streams, into our rivers that we don't want. That affects the wildlife that uses that stream, which is so much wildlife. So just moisture into the soil is really important. Runoff, anything like that. So yeah, compost dirt there's such a great advantage to it, other than just incredible, massive crops. So yeah, just overall environments, community, can do so much for us. So that's why I just love it. I'm just like you, very passionate for it. Just the concept of how we can take something so small like this 5-gallon bucket and do so much for our community. So yeah, to date, we're still growing every week. We've picked up since November. Maybe after next week we'll be right at 10,000 pounds, which is really cool. So we're like having a little celebration, 10,000 pound celebration. We're really excited. I can remember when we hit 1,000 pounds. I thought that was so cool. Now we're heading into the 10,000 range, and that'll just get bigger and bigger. So. Again, I'm just so passionate for composting for just different reasons of just taking down our landfills, the growth of them, just helping our overall environments, preserving our community here. So we have so many cool things happening in our community with outdoor activities and really just making sure we protect that. This is just, my passion. So that is Ozark Compost Swap. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you.